Mr. Death, the fear of dying, the fear of death. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brianne. Well, I don't give advice, recommendations, suggestions, or information. I just share with you my perspective on different topics, as is with this one. I am not sure if I've talked about this subject before here on my channel. I may have in different ways, but I really haven't made it a subject as far as I can remember. And well, what got me to really thinking about it was I forgot to tell you all that I am also a poet, and not an official poet, but an unofficial poet. I've been writing poetry for years. Now, I haven't been writing a whole lot lately because I've been so very, very busy. But poetry is sort of inspired into me, as it is with many people. And so I went through a phase a few years ago where I wrote them on being wrinkled old ladies and growing old and the hands of time ticking faster and faster, and on death. And some of them were just amazing poems. And I would share them with you, but they are somewhere in the box in my attic, in the boxes, my many boxes of my wisdom notes up in my attic. And I would have to sort through. And as you all know, I've been collecting my own personal wisdom notes for years and years and years and years. And most of them are handwritten. Some of them I've typed up, but most of them are up in boxes or bags up in the attic. And I keep them. I keep them all. And so I'll share with you a little bit about that poem. I think I titled it something similar to Mr. Death and the Old Lady. And it was about an old lady who used to peep out her window to make sure Mr. Death wasn't coming. And it sort of reminded me of the Twilight Zone, where the little old lady feared Mr. Death, and Mr. Death was actually Robert Redford, the actor Robert Redford playing Mr. Death, and she would peep out her window. Well, my poem was kind of not exactly like that, but it was about a little old lady who feared death, and she was able to avoid the hands of time. Even though she looked old, she was able to avoid death. And so she lived her life around her clocks, and she had all of these grandfather clocks like I do, and she would make sure that they never stopped. She would always wind them every day. And one day, somehow Mr. Death got into her house, and when she saw him, she ran outside and she jumped in her old car. It was a very old black car that had, wet leaves all over it because it was in kind of the wet autumn time of year. And she took off driving down the road as fast as she could go. And when she pulled over to the side, because, well, actually she went into a ditch, I think, in the poem, she looked in the back, she looked in her rearview mirror, and there was Mr. Death sitting in the back seat. And so, that was my poem that I made up. And so what I'm really saying is that a lot of people fear death. And, I don't fear it. I think probably like most people, I've thought about it. And where my focus is on living my best life and living the best quality life that I can possibly live, and achieving my divine purposes while I am here. And so I don't think about death. And I also don't think about sickness. Now, do I want to die? Of course of course not. I want to live as long as I can. But the reality is that I guess most people, if not all, are probably going to pass on at some point. It might be at 130, it might be at 150, I don't know. Only God knows when. And so the thing about it is I don't fear it. I also don't want to live in the fear of getting sick. First of all, I'm very proactive in taking care of my health because I want to stay well. I want to stay well as long as I can my whole life. And yet, having said that, I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to live in fear of getting sick because I know I'm doing my best part at staying well. So the two things I don't want to live in fear is the fear of death or the fear of sickness, because I hope to live a long, healthy life. I hope to be healthy. I hope to do and promote all the right things in my life so that I can live a long, healthy life. And yet I don't take any day for granted. I realize that, in my opinion, only God knows our time. And so I enjoy my life. I enjoy my everyday life. Instead of worrying about my life, I enjoy my life. So many people are in the fear of death, like the little old lady in the poem or the little old lady in the Twilight Zone. People fear death, and I don't fear it, and no one wants to be sick. And yet I don't fear it. I do everything to promote great health and to promote longevity. I think that's the word, or how you say it. And meaning that I want to live as long as I can, healthy, and I will do everything I can to promote that. And yet I don't want to live in fear of any kind. And so I think that it is a natural reaction for people to live in fear of that. I think a lot of people do, but that's not how I choose to live. And like I said, I don't give recommendations, advice, information, or anything else. I remember a long time ago, I read books on death and dying. There's a lot of them out there because we were assigned in college to read those books. And they were very interesting because it's a part of life, just like we're born. So I believe it's what we do in all those years in between, making the most of those years in between, following our true purpose in life, or as I call it, our divine purposes that God assigns us throughout our lives, loving and being caring and kind and good, and enjoying who we are, realizing we don't have to be perfect, and we don't have to have a perfect life to enjoy our life. Okay, well, I thought I would come on here and talk about that subject because that's probably one of the subjects I really never really talked much about, and I thought I would talk about that as well. So may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. I hope you like, share, subscribe to all 5 of my channels. Links are pinned to the top of the comment section below. If you connect with me, I will likely connect back with you. Hope to talk to you then. Bye-bye.